Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we'll be talking about the spell Find Greater Steed.
It's like Find Steed, but a little bit better. Actually, by quite a bit better. But yeah, one might say it is greater. You're right. Beat me to my joke.
Yeah. But all right, we recently did Find Steed. How is this different?
You get different stuff.
Not just different.
We did it right. Yep.
Yeah. What kind of stuff?
Okay, so you go from basically CR 1/8, 1-ish monsters, the Warhorse kind of being the top end of what you could get with Find Steed for a second level spell slot, to about CR 2 stuff for Find Greater Steed, and they tend to have exotic elements to them. So the full list that you get for Find Greater Steed is Griffin, Pegasus, Pterodon, Direwolf, Rhinoceros, or Saber-Tooth Tiger. Is it Periton? Periton is definitely the word, not Pterodon. I definitely said Pterodon, but it is Periton. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Periton.
Moving on. Yeah, you get one of these neat little things. And the meaningful differences that I think is like blatantly apparent is out the gate, Griffin and Pegasus give you fly speeds. That's really notable. Rhinoceros is cool as hell. That is very notable. Love that idea in every way, shape, or form. I can think of dozens of characters where riding a rhino into battle is metal. Direwolves get pack tactics and a pretty decent damage. They're like an upgraded version of the elk in a way. You've got that's the same with rhino. It's kind of like an upgraded version of the elk because it has the charge ability still. And then we have saber-tooth tigers that have pounce, which is basically just charge, which is what the greater elk and stuff have.
Saber-tooth tigers are cool.
Yeah, sure. They're cool.
You gave a rhinoceros you got all excited about, but you shrug off a saber-tooth tiger?
A saber-tooth tiger to me is just like a giant panther, and I've seen Dritz do it enough times to be like, yeah, it's whatever. Fine, sure.
Okay.
In any case, regardless of your personal preference as to which of these mounts is coolest, which cough stuff with the rhinoceros, this is the other really notable thing about it is this upgrades their hit points pretty dramatically from like 20-ish to 60-ish, which is basically taking it dies to a single fireball to it dies to 2 or 3 fireballs, and dying to 2 and 3 fireballs is way better. This is the kind of thing where if you're doing the mountain paddle and thing, this is how you do it. I would wholeheartedly recommend it. It has the same kind of stuff where it's like you can telepathically communicate with the creatures. So this can be like Griffin spy, a direwolf spy, a rhinoceros looking in through a window trying to get some detailed information about an encounter. There are some pretty cool applications to using this like a Find Familiar spell. Granted, this is a 4th level paladin spell, so this is like your upper tier. Using it as Find Familiar is a little bit light. But this is like I'm gonna point to our prior video where I do a pretty decent in-depth dive. It's like, this is how mounted combat works. This is controlling a steed versus not controlling a steed. This is a spell you don't always really want to have it act independently and do make its attack rolls, but you're very often going to want to have it act independently and make its own attack rolls because, like, you know, they're doing slightly more damage. 2d8 plus 5 on a rhinoceros is pretty good. If you get the charge, it's 48 plus 5 damage, and that's just a thing that you can get for moving in a straight line and hitting somebody. Plus a DC 15 strength save is a lot better than a DC like 11 or 12. You're gonna be able to get like do some cool shenanigans here. Plus you also, like, a thing to keep in mind, you just have these stat blocks on hand now. So like, oh, there's a big angry door to break down, and I'm a dex paladin for some reason. Yeah, the rhino's got 21 strength. It plows right through it. You can do some skill-based stuff with them as well, and they can help you explore the world in cool ways.
Now, I always figured the reason to get this, I mean, you're really excited about the rhinoceros, I get it, but I always thought the reason to get this spell is to fly.
Yeah, it's a good reason. Pegasus have 90-foot fly speeds. That's real good.
What about
flying around like a jet?
What about the Griffin?
80. So we're almost there.
Right.
The meaningful difference is Griffin gets multi-attack, which is really good.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to be like, yeah, I'll go slightly slower to have my thing attack twice and to have more hit points, thank you very much. Granted, Griffins are uglier, but you know, it's going to be like a matter of personal taste. Multi-attack is very good, especially because one of the attacks is doing 2d6 plus 4 and this is doing a d8 plus 4. This is going to be like a better fighter that you're going to be flying around on. That's not true. It's going to be a better barbarian that you're flying around on. Dark Vision 60 comes with it too. The fly speeds, which is definitely where we started. I'm sorry. I get really excited every time I look at the stat blocks. I'm like, sure, this is shiny. This is neat. I can talk about this. The fly speed specifically will open up combat to be Like this brings paladins into the upper tiers, and they're such fast fly speed that even some of the full casters, even some of the top end fantasies the other characters are getting, they can probably outdo specifically the fly speed with like teleportation or like one-off instances of burst things. But just having a Pegasus under your control that you can fly around, that like, you know, is taking you 180 feet each turn if you wanted to, is ridiculous. Like you can cover absurd distances with this thing with like very little problem. It's going to be great whenever you do it.
Now, the duration on these, they hang around forever or what?
Yep.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yep, you just have it. It's just your pet now. You can't have more than one at a time. You can only have like one mount bonded with this spell, but you can also have a mount bonded with Find Regular Steed. It's not one or the other. So if you really want a warhorse and a griffin, you got it. Why not? You don't have to retire the warhorse just to get an upgrade. Although there is a probably cool thematic story to be like, my horse grew wings and is now a Pegasus. Look at the thematic growth. But if you want both, you can have both instead. And both is better. Especially because you can be like, hey, I'm going to give the warhorse now to the wizard so that he can run away very fast. And I'm going to get on the Pegasus.
Yeah. But yeah, that's, I mean, it's essentially Find Steed with better steeds.
Yeah. There's always the consideration of you still provoke attack opportunities with these things. So you're going to have really fast speed and have to use it wisely. Once you engage something, you're probably engaged with it for a bit. And very notably, some of these things don't have hover speeds. And that means, from my understanding of the flying rules, you got to be moving to stay afloat.
Okay.
So if you aren't, you have to be prepared for navigating three-dimensional space and be willing to take some hits if you're trying to like fly around a giant thing. You could like if you're against like a gargantuan creature, like let's say we're doing Disney Hercules versus the Cyclops kind of fight, right? Like enormous monster, you're tiny, you're a little gnat flying around on Pegasus beating it in. That will be no problem. The problem will start to come whenever you're fighting medium or smaller things that you can't just like fly circles around, because you can start provoking a bunch of attacks of opportunity, and you have to plan out and think a little bit more methodically. If you're trying to do aerial combat, it becomes a little bit more of a headache than I think that's any right to be. If you can, it probably won't be that much of an issue most of the time, but I figured I'd mention just to be like, hey, read up on the flying rules. If you're going to be doing this in those tiers, it's probably going to behoove you to know how everything works.
Behoove you. Nice.
If you ever get clotheslines while you're midair too and fall off your horse, you're in for a rough time.
Or if somebody targets your horse.
Yeah,
it gets peppered with arrows.
Yeah, 60 damage on a Pegasus and you're plummeting. So, just again, something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could ever ride a Pegasus. I'm terrified of heights. But yeah, especially if people are going to be shooting at me.
Yeah, I think even more so than Find Steed, we talked about Mount of Combat, a feat in the last one. Again, reference that video if you want to hear more about the specific feat. But I think in this instance, more so than the other, being able to protect your mount is going to be important. And especially in the upper tiers, whenever you're against smart villains that know, oh, hey, that paladin's on a flying horse. What if the flying horse went away? Being able to redirect those hits to you is going to be very valuable. Giving it evasion is going to be very valuable. All of the things that made it fine in the early tiers is going to get a lot better in the upper tiers. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan of this one. How about you? More inspired?
Yeah, I just didn't get excited about Find Steed, but this one I'm very excited about. Yeah, if you're a high-level paladin, I think this is a must-have.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It like the second level spell, it doesn't feel like a spell slot. I think that's why it's so good on the half caster. Normally, like, oh god, a fourth level spell, it's like my top end stuff. Yeah, but it's something you cast once and a half forever. And you only recast it whenever you need to get your thing back, and you're probably doing that when you're long resting anyway. It's gonna feel a lot less like you're spending your fourth level spell slot on this, and more like you just have this pet now. That's just a bonus resource. If you're a paladin, you really should just be taking this if you get the option.
5 out of 5 for me.
It's not that game breaking. This is a 4 out of 5 still. This isn't warping the game like a lot of other powerful magic can, but it is very good. Your DM's gonna have to be like, oh my god, my paladin's going how fast now? And that's a fun little headache to throw at them. Yeah.
Again, I base mine on cool.
Yeah, fair.
And this is certainly cool.
Definitely. It's pretty powerful too.
Yep. All right, that was Find Greater Steed. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it, a gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.